All right, it is November, it's chilly, it's overcast, and it is Guy Fawkes Day. Well, this is my first chilly weather ride of the year. In fact, I think I'm going to kick on my heated hand grips. It is overcast, chilly, first chilly weather ride of the year. It is very likely going to rain today, at least that's what my weather app says. But I just wanted to get out today. I haven't been out all week. It's Saturday. I needed to relieve some stress out here on two wheels. I got my second camera hooked up here on my handlebars. That's been kind of flaky lately, so we'll see how it works today. I'm hoping it works better today just because it's chilly, and I think the reason it's been tweaking out is because it's overheating, so we'll see. Anyway, I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, and it being Guy Fawkes Day, I figured I'd talk about Guy Fawkes. What could be more appropriate? Guy Fawkes, if you're in the United States, especially, you may not be super familiar with what Guy Fawkes Day is. It's more celebrated in England, for whatever reason. And, it's kind of like the Santa Claus story, you know. Santa Claus started out as a real person back who knows when, as St. Nicholas, and just, you know, stories kind of evolved, and so Guy Fawkes has kind of evolved into this kind of storybook character who blows up public buildings or tries to blow up public buildings to kill non-Catholic kings, and it's a fanciful tale. But the actual story is pretty interesting. I don't know why it changed over the years, but the actual story of Guy Fawkes dates back to the flood, Noah and whatnot. Fawkes, the way it's spelled today is like F-A-W-K-E-S or something like that, but the etymology of that name goes back to the Germanic F-O-X, fox, which is, of course, the animal, a fox. And so Guy Fawkes, the original Guy Fawkes, was a fox that was on the ark with Noah. If you'll recall from your Bible studies, there was going to be a great flood. Noah was told about it by God, and he was told to gather two of every animals, a guy and a girl. What the story doesn't really go into detail about, though, is these couples of animals weren't like in relationships already. You know, they weren't married couples. It wasn't like Mrs. and Mr. and Mrs. Giraffe or Mr. and Mrs. Snake. They just were the guy and the girl of each animal that happened to be closest to the ark at the time. So a lot of these couples didn't even know each other when they got on the ark, which was uncomfortable. But anyway, so obviously, as you've probably guessed, there was a girl fox and there was a Guy Fawkes on the ark, and they were not exactly a great pair. The girl fox was hot. I mean, she was, forgive the expression, a fox, and the Guy Fawkes was not. I mean, he had like ooze seeping from his eyes. He had like mangy fur. His tail was kind of like broken, so it kind of tilted weirdly. He had like this big bulbous nose. Not an attractive specimen of his species, but he was the closest one to the ark, and so that's who Girl Fawkes ended up with. So they made their way along with all the other animals onto the ark when it was time. And, Girl Fawkes right away was pretty unhappy about the situation, but they had other things to worry about in the beginning. You know, it was starting to rain pretty hard, harder than they'd ever seen, of course. And so everybody's kind of panicked, and in those situations, you know, your sense of survival kind of supersedes everything else. And so Girl Fawkes was just like, yeah, whatever. I'm just going to worry about staying alive in this boat for now. I'm not going to worry about what's going on with this ugly-looking Guy Fawkes. But, and so it did. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. It's kind of appropriate that I'm telling this story on a day that is somewhat rainy, and it's not raining right now, but probably will before I'm done. Anyway, so the rain comes down, 40 days and 40 nights. It is pouring. I mean, I don't know, you probably can't even imagine how hard it was pouring. I mean, it was raining hard enough to cover mountains with water. Mountains. I mean, you know, we get 3 inches of rain in a weekend, and it's like there's flash floods everywhere. But anyway, so a lot of rain, and so they were all the animals at this time were kind of all united in their terror of what was going on. Nobody was really paying a lot of attention to the relationships, you know, the romantic side of this situation. But of course the rain stopped after 40 days and 40 nights, and as you may be aware, they were then just floating in the water. The whole world was covered with water. There's this one boat, and they were floating around for a year. I mean, I can't imagine being on a boat for a month, let alone a year. And again, the Bible doesn't really delve into this part of the story that much, but you know, there was drama on that boat for the year. I mean, the animals were cliquey, they were picking sides. You know, once the danger was gone, Girl Fawkes was looking at Guy Fawkes and being like, there's no way. I mean, I know he's the last fox on Earth, but Guy Fawkes is just horrible. I mean, I just can't even imagine being intimate with this guy. And it didn't help that she became friends with Girl Badger. Girl Badger was, oh my gosh, she was the worst. And Girl Badger was like, I can't believe you're going to repopulate the species with Guy Fawkes. I mean, Guy Fawkes is disgusting. And Girl Fawkes was like, no, he's totally disgusting, but what am I supposed to do? He's the only fox. And Girl Badger was like, I don't know, maybe you could come hook up with Guy Badger. He's a hottie, and you can make like this Fox-Badger hybrid, and maybe it'll be like a super animal. And Girl Fawkes is like, I don't know, that sounds kind of perverted. I don't think I'm into that. Anyway, this went on, but Girl Badger was kind of a poison, you know. She's like the gossipy girl who just like spreads rumors about everybody. So it didn't take long before really the whole arc was against Guy Fawkes. I mean, poor guy. He was a nice guy, but he did look kind of wonky. And anyway, he kind of had this little corner that he would huddle in the back of the ark, and everybody else would laugh. And when on sunny days they'd go up to the top deck, they had a shuffleboard up there, and they would play shuffleboard, and Guy Fawkes would just kind of huddle in his corner and contemplate life, and you know, why he was the one who happened to be closest. You know, why couldn't it have been Chad? You know, Chad was like this, you know, hunky dude fox that he knew growing up, that was just kind of like the apex alpha fox that you can imagine a Chad Fox would be. But it wasn't, obviously. Chad drowned in the flood, and so Guy Fawkes was just there really getting depressed and sad. And as sad as it is, I mean, you'd think that, you know, Noah and his family would have at least noticed the problem here, you know, kind of like a teacher seeing a child getting bullied in school. But he didn't. I mean, and it sucks, but, you know, Noah had a lot on his mind, so let's not judge him too harshly. I mean, you know, he's like got his handful of family there. He's trying to navigate this ark, which is, you know, he'd never captained anything before. Now he's, you know, driving all of humanity and animality. Anyway, he's all of life on Earth is kind of like up to him. So he was under a lot of pressure. So I get mad when I hear about the way that Guy Fawkes was treated, but I try to cut Noah a little slack, just because, I mean, geez, I don't know how I would act in that situation. So anyway, time goes on, and the flood is starting to recede, you know. Noah can tell that the waters are going down a little bit. And after a year, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but after a year, just in case you didn't know, they landed on the top of Mount Ararat, which is in Turkey, I think. And Mount Ararat is about 16,000 feet high. But before they got down to Mount Ararat level at 16,000 feet, other mountains were starting to poke up out of the water. And specifically, Mount Everest. Mount Everest is about 29,000 square feet, I believe. So obviously it would have been out of the water months before Ararat was. So anyway, they're in the region of Nepal, what is modern day Nepal. And off in the distance, Noah sees something that he hasn't seen in like 8 months, right? He sees land. He sees the tip of it, and it's not time. You know, he's supposed to be on the boat for like a day less than a year. Symbolic, maybe. I don't know why, but so he's like, it's only been 8 months. It's not time to land. So he sees this thing poking out of the water, and he's a little nervous. And you know, as they're floating toward, he could see it days before they actually got to it. And it's getting bigger, because as he's getting closer, obviously it looks bigger, but also the water is slowly receding at the same time. So this thing is looking kind of daunting, you know, the top of Mount Everest. And if you've ever seen pictures of the top of Mount Everest, I mean, there's snow, and it's icy, and it just looks kind of treacherous. And he's like, I don't think I'm equipped to survive on the top of Mount Everest. I mean, their oxygen tanks were empty. Whoever was, I think it was Guy Jackass, was supposed to fill up the oxygen tanks, but he didn't. He was just, you know, he was a jackass. What can I say? So they had no oxygen to survive on the top of Mount Everest. So anyway, Noah knew that he couldn't land on the top of Mount Everest at this point. So he's kind of like, I don't know what to do, because they didn't have oars, right? They would just have to kind of lean over and paddle their hands, and it wasn't super effective way of, you know, steering this massive vessel. But as they're getting closer, you know, the days passed, and everybody's, you know, the animals are oblivious. They're just playing shuffleboard on the deck, and they don't know what's going on until it starts storming. And there hadn't been a lot of storms. You know, the big one that caused the world to flood happened, and then it was pretty nice weather for, you know, months and months at a time. Every once in a while they get a little drizzle, but for the most part, you know, they had some nice cruise weather. So anyway, it starts getting dark, and you know, everybody's like, why is it dark? They look up, and the clouds are just rolling in to the sky and covering up the sun, and it's getting really dark. And then the sun goes down, and so it's like they don't have the stars, they don't have the moon, the sun's gone, and it is dark. And then it starts thundering and lightninging. Anyway, there was thunder and lightning going across the sky, and like, if you've never been on an ark for 8 months where you don't see any land at all and it's just water all around, it's probably hard to appreciate how magnificent and horrifying at the same time these lightning bolts were. I mean, they were going from horizon to horizon. And anyway, so you know, the animals now stopped playing shuffleboard immediately, and they're like, this is not the time for that. So they kind of like huddle back into a corner on the deck, and they're just looking, and it's getting darker and darker, except for when the lightning happens, and they're like, what do we do? I don't know what to do. And in the meantime, you know, Guy Fawkes is down there in his little corner, and he's feeling everything rock, and he's like, something's not right. I've got to go up there and see what's going on. So he goes up on deck, and he sees just what's going on, this massive storm, and there's lightning and thunder, and you know, he looks like a horror show. I mean, every time the lightning goes off, his drooling eyes and his mangy fur and his bulbous nose are just like, you know, everybody sees him, they're like, what is that? They're freaked out, and they're like, oh, it's just Guy Fawkes. And they're like, this is the worst. We're in the middle of a storm. Now we have to deal with this bozo. And then Noah glances over and he sees what's going on. He's like, why is that lone fox over there and, you know, away from the big group? And he's wondering about this, and another flash of lightning goes off, and Guy Fawkes's nose just like blazes to light, because it's all like shiny and reflective because of all the pus, and it's just bulbous, and it like lights up everything out at to sea, you know, the reflection of it. And so instead of just having this lightning that like shoots across the sky, it like lights up the whole sea for, you know, half a second, but it's long enough for him to get his bearings, Noah. So he's like, Guy Fawkes, you need to save the day here. So he grabs Guy Fawkes and like puts him at the front of the ark, and he's like, you need to guide my ark tonight, right? And so the lightning happens again, and boom, and everybody and all the other animals are like amazed, because all of a sudden they can see, just for that half second, but you know, it's long enough to leave an impression in your mind, the whole horizon, and then they can see Everest, you know, poking up, and it's getting close. I mean, this is kind of like a Titanic situation where they're like, you know, there's no Carpathian to save them, and they don't have life rafts at all. You know, it's just, this would be a catastrophic event for the world if they crash into Everest. So thankfully, with the help of Guy Fawkes's brilliant, you know, shining nose, they're able to, every time it flashes, Noah's like, everybody paddle left, and they paddle like crazy, you know, and some of them are better than the others. You know, the snakes are like, I don't know how to paddle, I don't have any limbs, you know, but they're like, it's fine, you don't have to paddle, snake. But anyway, so they go, so they paddle like crazy, and I mean, just barely miss the tip of Everest. I mean, you know, it was like made for movie moment. You know, they're just like, paddle, 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 flash, everything lights up, they see it so close. Like the giraffe like reached its head out and like licked the top of Everest. I mean, it was a really foolish thing to do in the moment, but you know, giraffes, they're idiots. But so yeah, anyway, they make it past, and obviously the storm passes, and everybody's like, Guy Fawkes, you're amazing. Why didn't we realize how awesome you are? And I mean, you're gonna go down in history. You know, they're gonna have a day about you someday. And Guy Fawkes is like, you guys, stop. I just, you know, it was nothing really. I just, you know, I had a nose, and it, you know, physics happened, and it just worked out. So I'm not a hero. And they're like, no, you're definitely a hero. And Girl Badger was like, oh my gosh, Girl Fawkes, why have you been dissing him? He's hot. I mean, look at how rugged he is, and that, like, I don't know, prominent nose just looks so striking. And Girl Fawkes was like, are you kidding me right now? This whole time you've been telling me that he's garbage. And Girl Badger was like, I'd never say that. Not about, you need to introduce me. Anyway, so Girl Fawkes is like, yeah, I mean, you know, he is pretty hot. And so she goes and she's like, hey, so what's your name? And he's like, are you serious? You're gonna be all nice to me now that I'm a hero? You couldn't be nice to me when I was just the ugly fox? And she's like, you were never the ugly fox, blah 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 blah. And anyway, he's just like, look, I wouldn't be with you if you were the last fox on Earth. And she's like, well, I am the last fox on Earth. And he's like, dang, you know, she called his bluff, because he's like, you know, I don't want no foxes to be around in the future. So obviously they, you know, they got married, they did their thing, and we have foxes today. You know, and to be fair to Girl Fawkes, I mean, she was young. She was like 19, and, you know, as they aged, she got a lot more mature, and she grew to love Guy Fawkes, not just for his fame, but as a person, or as a fox, you know. So she was all right, but she just is kind of painted badly in the story because she was a 19-year-old twit and really influenced by Girl Badger, who never turned out to be nice, by the way. I mean, look at badgers; they're just vindictive jerks. Anyway, I hope that has helped clear things up. You know, blow the fog away from some of these like weird myths that have crept up over the years about Guy Fawkes. And if you choose to celebrate Guy Fawkes by, you know, putting on a mask and, I don't know, saving a Parliament building from being exploded. I don't know what people do to celebrate Guy Fawkes Day, but that's fine. Do it whatever you want. But I just, for those interested in like the true backstory, I think it's pretty interesting. As always, thanks for watching my channel. Subscribe if you feel like it, and ride safe.